And here we go. Uh-oh.
What?
Rick's in a really chatty mood today.
And your hair looks extra
Don't
poofy.
pay no attention. Pay no attention to this hairstyle. It's kind of bedhead
Well, it's going with
slash
your mood. If you're feeling extra whatever, your
yeah.
hair is a little extra, but it
Uh,
looks good. I didn't
I
say
know,
it,
I know. No, I know. It's
yeah.
just I'm due for a haircut. I've been very busy, as have you.
Yes.
And we can get a little bit into that. But I do want to bring up something early started. I told you it was chatty, so
Okay.
be prepared.
I'm
All right.
prepared.
I thought of another thing to be grateful for
Okay.
about being child free. I
Okay.
thought we'd open with that.
Okay.
It's kind of darkish, but not really. It's
Mhm.
just our reality explaining what's happening in the world to children. Wha what is happening with those conversations? Oh my god. I know you don't watch the news as much as I
I
do,
do
but
not. I do not.
the breaking down the
Mhm.
craziness, and we won't get into
That is
every
such a good thought. I actually haven't thought of that. I'm sure at some point I have, but either in a while or maybe not to this extent. But, having the news on and having a child say, what's going on? What does that mean? You're right. I don't even know where you would start, to be honest.
that's what I'm
Like,
saying.
what angle are you coming in? Right? Like, there's just so many topics to figure out because maybe you're sharing a specific world event, but then you have to bring in what's happening, the divisiveness, humanity, war. Like, it's just too much. You're right. I mean, I am very, very grateful. I mean, I can barely process it myself that I don't have to decipher this information and try to, you know, pass it on to someone else.
Disseminate that to just
Yeah,
to our
yes, exactly.
and it also is age dependent, right? There's like you have to monitor like, okay, this is the age I should probably fill them in on this. That might come up at
Correct.
school. And
Right.
the dynamic of that, I
Yes.
mean, I'm just stressed right now just thinking about it,
Yes, that's
let
a great
alone
one.
doing it.
That's a great one. I was just telling the women in my program the other day that we come up with gratitude moments almost daily, and I think that it could potentially sound like we're exaggerating, but it's so true.
It's totally true.
Because not only is it once a day, but sometimes we have multiple moments of day of gratitude, and it's different forms of gratitude. So I'm glad that we have this podcast that we can share it. And I love hearing about our listeners' moments of gratitude too, because it's really endless. It just goes on and on and on and on. It's a
And
very
and
long list.
I know this sounds obvious, but I'm just going to say it out loud on this
Yeah.
podcast.
Hmm.
Everyone listening to this right now, take
Yes.
a moment and be grateful because this is just one of many
Yes.
many things to be grateful for. So
Yes.
you made this choice
100%.
for a reason, and whatever your reason is, there's so much
Hmm.
gratitude that comes with it. So,
Or if you landed here, or if you landed in this choice and
sure.
are moving forward with a happy child-free life, whatever the situation is. Yeah. So yeah, tons of gratitude.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing that
S-
up.
Yeah. So, and speaking of world events, and
Yes.
AI is on the forefront of everyone's mind lately. It's or not most people's. It seems to
Yes.
in the news. It's on every website. It's on
Yes.
social media. So
Yes.
AI is like a thing, and I just listened to a podcast and it was the CEO of OpenAI who owns ChatGPT, which
ChatGPT.
is which
Mhm.
is one of the main. His name's Sam Altman, and it was just really listening to where he sees AI going and the time span.
Mhm.
And of course, selfishly, that folded into the child free thought of kind of our elder years. And we always talk about like AI
Yes.
assisting us as we get older.
Yeah, we did a reel about that last week on
Yeah.
Instagram. If you're not following, go ahead and give us a follow there because people were really laughing at it. But I did that reel and you're the one who inspired me to do that reel because you talk about this and how AI is going to be there for us in the future. And I am on board with this idea.
Yeah, I'm here for it, and I think that the reason why I'm very passionate about this part, yeah,
Yes.
and I'll continue to be passionate about it on the child free connection in our community, et cetera. But like
Yeah.
for me, it's just not AI is like, oh, it's a smarter version of Google. It's the interaction that we're going to have that's going to solve a lot of loneliness crisis. This is coming from the head of OpenAI, by
Yeah.
the way. And it's
Yes.
this thing called AGI, which is artificial general intelligence, which is basically it's that you don't have to prompt AI, it almost just happens. So when you walk into your house, it's welcome home, Veronica. By the way, don't forget that you planned on doing this tonight. How are you feeling? And then you can have a full
Right.
blown conversation. And
Yes.
that's just going to be in kind of an Alexa situation. But he did go on to say that eventually AGI will go into a mobile unit slash robot and be able to assist you. And here's the exciting part: time frame,
Yes.
10 to 15 years
Right.
in
Yes.
our lifetime. This
Yes.
is something that's real.
It is very exciting, and it's something that you and I have a lot of deep conversations about. We really count on this technology, and we're really serious about, when we get asked the question, who will take care of you when you get older? We envision AI, robotics, AGI just being part of this whole process, and it's happening.
It's
Yes,
happening,
it's
and, that's
happening.
not to say that there won't be other people around you in your life that can help you as
Obviously,
well.
but this is a
Yeah,
nice option. Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
it's a nice option,
Yeah.
and I think you brought up a separate thing. You know me, I start to like, and you may disagree with this, or I don't even know the answer, so it's not an agree or disagree situation. But I was also listening to this Elon Musk interview, and we won't go down that rabbit hole, but we know he's like very or
Anti-child free, yes.
anti-child free. Sure, you said it. Um, do future robots count as part of the population? I never thought about that. Now, I know they're not consumers, so everyone that's listening, I understand that, he is basing this on we're a consumption society and we need to,
Right.
consume in order to grow and so on and so forth. As far as, especially the economy, I personally think he's self-motivated because he makes things and sells things. I've said this before, so therefore, of course, he wants more customers. But I will, it brings up the question like, will robots in some capacity count as part of the population? Because they always
Yeah,
talk about the population deteriorating, the folks
because
that
of us.
because of
Yes.
us.
Yes. That's really interesting question. I've never thought of that before, and
This
I
is the kind of shit I come up with.
no, I
I'm
know,
just
I
telling you, it's always stirring in my head. I don't know what's wrong with me.
I
Why am I
know.
thinking about this all day?
Well, you think about this stuff all the time, but it does it's just interesting. I think we can go into a real rabbit hole about different
Yeah.
reasoning why that is can be or cannot be, but I think we'll leave it to our listeners' minds to explore that idea in the future. I really like to
Let
yeah,
us know. I'm very curious what your thoughts are, everyone that's listening to this.
yeah, or watching on YouTube.
Yeah, hard pivot.
Yes.
I want to say I'm very excited. You're about to launch your new program. Do you want to talk a little bit about your next class, your March class? Very exciting.
Yeah.
Is child free for me?
Yeah. So the doors are closing soon. I'm really excited about this next group. And again, the last class was just an amazing experience. Those ladies have since moved on to our membership community that you and I run. And I have been still getting testimonials and little notes and letters. And I wanted to read one from Melissa where she says, in the program, we not only learned a lot about one another, but through curated questions and exercises that made us really sit and think about our wants, goals, desires, and core beliefs, we all learned so much more about ourselves. After 6 weeks, which is a relatively short amount of time, I am no longer in a spiral. My trust and confidence in my decision has exponentially strengthened. And in moments of fear or doubt, I know I have so many women who can relate and support me. What I love most about this program was that Veronica lived and breathed everything that she speaks about, and she is passionate about supporting people like me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So that's from Melissa. Really, really sweet and really well written too. So thank you for
I
that.
will say,
Yeah, it
very,
was really
very
well
well
written.
written.
Yeah, and basically that's what it is child free for me. It's the essential guide to exploring a child free life. And it's for women like myself who at one point were leaning towards child free, were not being pulled towards motherhood, but could not quite figure out what was pulling you back from making the commitment. And that's what the program is for. I'm really excited. Doors close soon. So if anyone out there knows of a woman that is going through this struggle, is childfreeforme.com because I'll be closing the doors by the time this comes out, probably in a few days.
Yeah. I
So,
have a question
yes.
about this program. I've never asked this. I love to hear all the results, but I also, and I'm assuming this is per person. It's based,
Yeah.
on the individual. When they come in with they have all these concerns, right? Pretty much. I mean, that's what your program is to identify these concerns,
I mean,
mitigate
it's
them,
deeper than
explore them.
concerns. I think we can dive into anxiety, stress,
Right.
fear. It's a lot of
So do,
different
so
things.
do you get to witness that transfer? Do you always can pinpoint that point where they realize like, oh, this is the right decision for me?
Yeah, I it depends on some women, they have this huge aha moment maybe during one of our calls, but sometimes others it takes a little bit longer. Everybody's on a different time frame, right? There is no because there's no pressure to
Sure.
make any sort of decision at any point. But yeah, I do get to witness that. And that is actually my favorite part of the program because not only, and this has been really consistent, do I see women building their confidence about making this choice and making an informed choice, but the tools that I teach them and the resources that I give them allows them to feel confident about other areas in their life, and it also allows
Mm.
them to explore other areas in their life using the same guidelines that I've taught them. So, I never really expected for people to use what I taught them in other areas of their life. So, that's really cool too.
Before we get into today's topic, I did want to discuss one other thing
Yeah,
that came up during the week. We like to bring up things that happen to us. Obviously, this doesn't really fold into child free, but it is a question I had for you, and I wanted to save for this podcast. So we went out for St. Patty's Day to just blow off some steam and have some fun.
right. But we didn't know it was St. Patty's Day.
We didn't know. We didn't
Right.
know.
Yeah.
And, yeah, but we actually knew when we left and we're like, "Let's just go for it anyway, like, we'll deal with the bar scene."
Yes, we were on our way, and our friend texted us and said, "By the way," because we were thinking about a couple of different bars to go to, and she was like, "Did you know it was St. Patty's Day?" And we were like,
Yeah,
"Oh, no,"
yeah.
because we weren't really thinking about getting into a crowded situation. Yeah,
So we
but it
selected a bar
yeah,
that is we knew was gonna be crazy. It's a big bar that has a theme for every single thing you could possibly imagine. So we went into this bar, and it was packed. You're like, you dropped me off in front so you
yes,
can park the car, you were driving,
yes.
and you're like, "Hey, go find us a table, see if it's even worth it, see how crazy it is." So the minute I walk up, there's people spilling out from the bar, tables outside
It
are
was
booked,
packed.
packed, walk in, barely can get through, and I'm call you, and I'm like, "It's not looking good." I'm on my way out the door, and as I'm walking past the bar, I see these 2 ladies look at me and kinda point to the table that they're sitting at and be like, "Do you want the table?" Maybe they overheard me kind of being like, "I don't see any seating," or whatever,
Mhm.
and and they get up and they kind of look back at me and I'm on the phone with you and I'm just so excited to find a seat because we can hang out and join this energy. And then I just kind of give them like a very subtle, like, oh, and not even a thanks, just kind of like, yeah, 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 thank, I'll sit here. And I kind of grab it. And then I was just stricken with this like guilt afterwards that I didn't thank them enough for the seat. So it brings up the question. I literally wanted to go out and be like, "By the way, I understand this was like a full-blown, amazing
Well, it was
timing
probably
moment."
the best table in the house too.
Yes,
That's why we were in the perfect spot. Yeah.
and I ended up dwelling on this in my head that I didn't give them a proper thank you. So it really comes down to this, like, in a crazy situation, whether it's a parking spot and it's a busy parking lot or a
Right.
table like that, am
Right.
I at fault? Because 'Cause I've been feeling a little certain way about this. I know this is so small, but this is the kind of thing that I worry about. So what are your thoughts on this?
Uh Oh, that's a tough one. I think so what are you asking? Like, should have you expressed more gratitude for
Yeah,
them
is it
being like, "Hey, we're getting up,"
2
right? Yeah.
things. Should I what am I overthinking it? Number
Yes.
1, which
Yeah.
I do.
Yes.
And and number 2 is, do you think they walked away and be like, "I gave that guy a gift and we barely got a thank you?" So it's those 2 questions. I guess one folds into the other essentially, but
Um, God, this is tough because it really depends. I think that it's nice when you give someone a table to get a thank you, but you acknowledge them. Like what you told me when I got there, because you were telling me the story that you were like, like kind of while you were on the phone with me, almost thanking them, nodding. I mean, I don't know what else you're supposed to say, right? Like, I don't know what else, like, "Thank you, I appreciate it so much, like, you just made my day, now I can sit." I don't think that you really need to do that. Did they think about it? I don't know, it depends.
Yeah.
I think that this is more about you.
Oh, clearly. It's always about me.
And that when you offer up a table, you definitely when you offer up anything, you definitely want
I expect a
people
lot
to
of
you expect
recognition.
a lot of recognition.
In that situation, if it was like a half empty
Right,
bar, I
right.
would like, whatever, there's
Yes,
plenty of
yes.
seats. And then as we were walking out, I turned back and I saw some people because we were right next to the bar, prime location.
Yeah,
And I saw some people in line and they turned and saw us leaving and they're like, "Oh, do you all want to take this seat?"
yeah.
And I was walking away, like waiting for them to look back at me and be like, "Thanks." Again. So then I felt less guilty about my original issue. Circling back to community, our
Yeah.
amazing community, I also am very excited. I read my first fiction book
Yes.
that I think since college. Like I've just been in the self help
Well, for book
world.
club, let's be specific, for
No,
book
I
club.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to get in there, but yeah, I read this book that we selected for our community book club, and
Mhm.
I'm like on this new thing. I want to find another book that's fiction and
Well,
read
we're
it.
picking one out this week.
Great, great,
Mhm.
because I've been in like a lot of nonfiction and
Same.
learning mode, as have you.
Yes.
And it's just, I'm just so excited because it's such an escape,
It
you
was
know?
really fun. It was both of our first book clubs. We have never been in a book club before, and there's so many readers in our, membership community that we decided to host one, and we actually have a book club captain. Her name is
Shout
Hannah.
out to
She's shout out
Hannah.
to Hannah. She's one of our members, and she held the open discussion, and it was really, really fun, and I all I do is read about business, and self-help, right? That's probably the blend of books, mostly business. I would say 90% business, maybe 10% self-help. And it was really fun for me just to read a book and escape. It was so nice. I'm looking forward to the next one. And it was the first time that we do something like this together, you and I, because it's
Yeah,
usually also anything we do together has been very business focused.
yeah,
So this was a lot of fun. And the book is called The Passengers, and we highly recommend it. It was really interesting. Nothing I would have ever picked out myself, but if you're a reader and you're curious, look it up. We all had a great discussion about it and we really loved it. So, on the last podcast, we talked about me visiting my mom, and I wanted to bring up something else that happened on the trip that I didn't get to talk about. So, what happened was that she kept bringing up, and she's done it before, she keeps bringing up relatives that I have, and I don't know my relatives because they're in Argentina. I left when I was 4 turning 5, so I don't really have a relationship with them, and she's always naming all these people. So when I was talking to her, I was like, "I really should write these people down so that I can have a better idea of who's who, how they're connected, because I just get very confused." And then the next day, we hung out with my sister, and then more people came up, and I was like, "You know what? I need to start writing this down because this is just getting too much." So what I did was I just grabbed a piece of paper from my sister's house and I started writing down what my mom was saying. And she was pretty much remembering. I started working on a family tree, sort of org chart type thing. And she was telling me who was in the family, cousins, kids. And we ended up going through most of it. It's a lot of people and there was some blanks. So we ended up calling my cousin in Argentina who we never
wow.
she speaks to him sometimes. I've spoken to him maybe once or twice in my whole life, and I'm asking him to fill in the blank on all these people. So I actually have it with me because so if you're watching this on YouTube, I ended up with oh,
Oh my god.
so it's 2 sides.
I didn't even
So
know you were doing this.
yeah, 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 yeah. So it just I have to
Oh my
read
god, that is a huge family tree.
I have to redo it, and this is only my mother's side. I have to redo it because I kept just doing asterisks and arrows, and so I need to work on it some more. But the point is that everybody on this sheet of paper has kids. I am the only one on this side of the family that is child free. And that was just really I don't feel surprising. I don't know that I'm not surprised, but I think that just having it all laid out just made me feel like, "Oh, that's just interesting," right?
Yeah.
So I was wondering if you know anything about your family tree.
So I'm not aware of anyone that's child free. So I would imagine that I'm close. But wow, I mean, back to you. I mean, that's incredible. I mean, I don't think my family is nearly as big as yours, and the fact that really broke tradition unknowingly is just pretty crazy. I mean, that's like,
Yeah, I just thought it was interesting, and I thought that it would be interesting for our listeners to also just take a quick look at their family tree if they have access to it. I have to talk to my dad because I don't know anything about that side either. I have to get information, so it's just interesting to see over time what has happened. And what would be even more interesting to see is how family trees change as this generation, these next few generations move forward with the child free choice becoming slowly but surely more accepted and more prevalent.
you know what? You gave me credit earlier in this podcast about bringing up like a really interesting thought, and I got to give you one. I mean, I didn't even think about that. Like, does that tree
Mhm.
change? And my guess is yeah, I would, because obviously things were a lot much more traditional as we go back in time.
Mhm.
Hence the word tradition. So I would assume that most people would find that they are breaking the mold of not having kids in that family tree. Yeah, I would say that it's a great case study, really, to look at what a family tree will look like in the next 20 years, not ours necessarily, but just in general.
Well, there's one thing that keeps coming up with us, and we actually posted about it on social media last week. And we post a lot on our social media channels. If you're not following us, it we post a lot of the negative comments that we get because we
Mm.
get thousands and thousands and thousands of them. When we started the
Oh, do we?
when we started the Childfree connection, they were a little bit harder to deal with because they're so harsh. And it felt very personal because people were saying very specific things about each one of us, about us both as a couple. And over time, it just really rolls off our back. But we still get a lot of hostility and a lot of negativity, specifically from parents.
Mm.
So we started talking about last week why the competition, I'm using that in quotes if you can't see me on YouTube, that it's almost like whenever we say anything, there is it feels, and I understand because this happens all the time, it feels like an attack towards parents. Like if a child free person says, I love my child free life because I get to do, I have the freedom to travel, I have the freedom to do, the immediate comment that we always get from parents is like, well, I have kids and I get to travel too. I have kids and I have time to myself. I have kids. And as if we're saying, your life isn't as good as ours, which is absolutely not what we're saying. We're just saying we happen to love the life that we chose. So I found this article, and this woman's name is Allie Hall, and is also interested in this potential view of hostility between child free people and parents. And I wanted to share the article with you because I mean, you've shared with me before too that there's certain remarks that people make towards child free people that are not very nice or
Yeah.
feel uncomfortable or not really coming from the most positive place.
The comments we're getting are coming from a very defensive place. Like they feel like they need to defend their side, and we're spreading some kind of message of anti-children, which is
Right.
not the case.
At all. At
No,
all.
the case. This is because this is a different life trajectory. It can be confusing because it's not mainstream. It's not taught. It's not part of the tradition, as we mentioned earlier. So there's confusion about it, and we're trying to explain, like, hey, this is a safe space of support and understanding of this lifestyle and what it looks like for those who want to be child free, leaning towards being child free, but are confused what it looks like. That's what your program is about. So
Yeah.
it frustrates me. I'm getting worked up. Look at me. It frustrates me because people don't get that. It's always like, well, why do you got to post about something that you don't have? Or no one cares that you don't have kids. Why do you got to
Right.
announce it? And it's like, no, people do care because they're
Mhm.
confused that are in the space that we're in. So I say that loudly and with passion because that's
Mhm.
the purpose and the core message of what we're doing specifically. I can't speak for everyone,
Yeah.
And that's what frustrates me, and that's where the tension between parents and child-free people start. It's
Right.
a misunderstanding, as most things in life are, is a communication issue, a disconnect, and
Mhm.
therefore, people go into their corners and they put their boxing gloves on and they're ready to come out and fight, and it's stupid. It's like, "Look, we're just don't worry about what we're doing. We're
Right.
not worried about what you're doing."
We're
I
not.
mean,
I mean,
we can have fun with it. We can say the positive and the negatives of both sides, right? I mean, we like to kind of point out like what we're grateful for, but we're not taking a jab at parents. It's a reality that
yeah,
we
but
don't.
that's not talking about the negatives of their side. That if we're not,
Right. That's
yeah,
what I'm
we're just
saying.
saying we're happy we don't have to deal with X. We're happy we don't have to deal with
Sure.
Y.
And I
But
think
we're not
some
putting
parents,
anybody else down for choosing to do those things.
yeah, and I think there's a lot of parents that take offense to that for some reason. But there, to be fair, there are some parents that kind of laugh and say, "You're right. You don't have to deal with that. We've
Oh, of
gotten those
course.
comments."
We have
Yeah,
tons of support. Yeah. No, I'm just talking about the people
I
that
get it.
come to
Of
us
course.
and come at us. And also, we have members of our community that very specifically give us stories about how some of their family members or some of their friends really come at them about this choice. Like, why would you do that? Why are you being selfish? And all the things that fall under the category. So, this woman, Ellie Hall, was wanting to dive into this hostility, these microaggressions, this coldness that we feel from parents. And she found a study by Dr. Jennifer Neal and Dr. Zachary Neal. And the study is titled Prevalence, Age of Decision, and Interpersonal Warmth Judgments of Child Free Adults. And what they found was that the warmth parents display to other parents is greater than the warmth that they give to child free people. Meanwhile, child free people demonstrated the same warmth to parents and child free people alike.
All right.
So,
So I'm a little slow. Let me just
mhm,
process that. So you're
yeah,
saying basically that from parent to parent,
yes,
they have a very there's a lot of warmth and
hmm,
understanding because they
yes,
bond. That makes
yes,
sense. But and for child-free person to parent, there's
hmm,
this same warmth to a certain
right,
degree.
right.
However, okay, and so that's where you're at right now. I just want to make sure I'm clear.
No. So what I said was that parents do not display the same warmth to
Okay.
child-free people.
Okay, and this is a study, right?
Yes,
This is a study.
this is what they found.
All
This is
right.
what they
So this is
concluded.
not opinion. This is a real case
Yeah,
study. So,
yeah.
okay.
So I just thought that was interesting because it's pretty obvious. I think that as child-free people, like why these words, these microaggressions, this hostility exists. So Ellie Hall, who wrote this article, she offers two possible reasons for this lack of warmth. And the first thing that she talks about is that parents are bonded by trauma. And she refers to this book that is called The Body Keeps Score. And she shares a quote from the book, which I thought was really interesting because in this book, they discuss war veterans and it says, after trauma, the world becomes sharply divided between those who know and those who don't. People who have not shared the traumatic experience cannot be trusted because they can't understand it. So she took that book and thought about this idea and said, well, pregnancy is traumatic, childbirth is traumatic. Raising a young child can be traumatic. And she goes on to say that many psychotherapists list childbirth and parenting alongside other areas like anxiety, addiction, abuse, depression, relationship issues. And she also points out that because women are the ones actually giving birth and oftentimes doing the caretaking, that the woman to woman lack of warmth and conflict is often higher than the men.
Wow, so that's really interesting. So I didn't realize there was a lot of trauma that came with giving birth and like the process of
Oh,
going
yeah.
through that. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I just news to me. So,
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we can't speak for everyone, right? Everyone has a different experience. But according to this, there is a lot of traumatic experiences with childbirth, with pregnancy, with raising a young child. So she goes on to say, she gives that example, and it's funny because Karen, who's in our community, just brought this up to me the other day. And what she was saying was, it's so frustrating when I'm talking to my mom friends and I see something very obvious that has to do with their kids in some way. Maybe they're complaining about the kid, maybe they're having trouble communicating with their kid, and she wants to say something, but she said that it's been so many years now that she just keeps her mouth shut because the answer is always, "You don't know. You're not a mom, so you
Right.
wouldn't know." Have you ever gotten that as a man? Has anyone ever said to you, "You wouldn't know because 'cause you're not a dad?"
No, but I've heard it being said where, like, you wouldn't maybe a couple times, but nothing not a lot. So,
Yeah.
but I have heard that being like, "You wouldn't understand, you're not a mom," or you wouldn't understand, you're not a dad." I mean, I get it to a certain degree, but it's also like, you're not included,
Well, this is
instead of like
exactly what we're saying.
right,
And this is
exactly.
exactly what this article is saying. Like, because of comments like that, of you wouldn't understand, that these words sound accusatory and they start to build division. And then they
Mhm.
increase the tension and the divide between parents and the child free. So that's one example that she's thinking of. Is like there's a trauma, there's a traumatic event that is shared between them, and then the person that is not in that circle of having that experience is almost, or not is almost, it starts to be viewed as the opposition.
Let me ask you this, do you
Yeah.
think that there is maybe not to the same extent as women who physically give birth, but do you think there's some kind of, I won't call it trauma, but some kind of bond that fathers have being
Well, this is
there.
including men as well.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
yeah, this includes men as well. She was just saying specifically women's relationship because the woman is physically giving the birth,
Right,
but
right.
they're not excluding men here because men are, they're pregnant together, they're in the room, they're raising the child ideally, right? And in certain situations. So no, this has nothing to do with just women. This is couples, men and women behaving a certain way towards
Sure.
non-parents, parents towards
Wow.
non-parents. And the second point that she made, she called standard in-group mentality. And she talks about in-group, out-group theory, which is when we feel threatened by perceived outsiders, we instinctively turn toward our in-group with those people that we identify as a survival mechanism. And that makes sense, right? I mean, there's so much divisiveness in the world right now, so that when we feel threatened by outsiders, we want to be with the people that are like us and make the
Well, you're
same choices as we
and that you
do.
feel more comfortable with.
And
I
you feel
mean,
more comfortable. And this
yeah.
also makes sense to me because, I mean, it's the same thing why people in our community are so ecstatic and why we all are so happy to be in the space together, because we're all like-minded, right? So it does make sense and it starts to add up why this is happening.
Yeah, I mean, now it's really clicking for me because remember I said that every time, I meet someone new in the community, if someone comes in or we had an event a while back,
Yes.
like it just happens so naturally. I
Yes.
think that's the same feeling parents have when they meet each other. There's so much to talk about in their world.
Right.
So
And
it's
they're like in a
natural.
they're in a common traumatic bubble almost. Like it's almost like we were in the trenches together. So you get
Right.
it, I get it, and there's this commonality and this bond that we cannot penetrate as child-free people.
Yeah. And it's the same with us, right? We're in this kind of common bond in
Yeah,
the
but it's
trenches
not,
together.
because no, we are in this common bond, but what they're saying from the study is that it doesn't happen the other way around, right? Like we don't
Right.
have that sense of protection of and maybe hostility towards anyone outside of our circle, because that's exactly what the study said, that
Right.
child free people were fine with parents, but parents weren't with child free. So I thought that was really interesting. I thought that was a really interesting idea because you see it happening. She mentions in the article that, and this has happened to me multiple times, and she's mentioning in the article how she was in a yoga class, and then, maybe after class, all the women were hanging around and talking, and everyone's talking about their kids, and somebody, it was her turn, and somebody said, "How many kids do you have?" Which is really interesting because that's happened to me a lot. Instead of saying, "Do you have kids?" people just say, "How many kids do you have?" And then once she says, "No, I don't have any children," or once anyone in our community says, "No, I'm child free," or whatever, there is a sense of there is an energy shift, and she says that
Mm.
she can almost feel people just sort of peeling away and almost sometimes even walking away or just sort of looking at her and, "Okay," and then keeping the conversation going because so she feels it, right? And I have felt that. I don't know if you've ever been in that
I have
situation.
felt that. I have felt that where it's like I'm with a group, specifically, I was on a golf trip and a group of guys, and they all had kids, big, like
Mhm.
more than two or two at minimum.
Yeah,
And they're kind of discussing, and I'm kind of quiet because they're discussing something about being a parent.
yeah,
And I whether it was taking the kids to soccer practice, whatever, they were getting into it, and then I was quiet for a pretty good long time. It was a long conversation about it, and they were all kind of bonding back and forth. And then it was obvious that I was being quiet, and they turned to me and they're like, "Well, what about you? Do you experience that?" And I'm just like, "Oh, I don't have kids." And for guys, it's a little different. Instead of an energy shift, I got, ah, lucky you. You know what I mean? I think that's just a guy thing. Like,
I mean, it's so different. It's
it
so
is so
different.
different.
It's
Now,
such
this was this one group. I'm not
no,
saying
no,
men don't feel.
no, I know, but you're generally it's generally very different than what we
Or
experience.
I think even one was like, "Ugh, good decision, Jesus," because it's kind of like, and it's kind of endearing, but I also feel a little left out deep down. I'm just like, wow, okay, that is fine. That's nice that they kind of offered up this like good choice,
Yeah,
type of thing,
right,
because their whole the hardships of being a father and all the responsibility that comes
right,
with it,
right.
and so it's like that's the energy I get. But I am there, kind of feeling uncomfortable for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I definitely understand. That's when the line starts to be formed and the division starts. And then she also points out in the article that maybe child-free people are seen as a threat or someone to fear. And it's just a really interesting perspective to have. And the reason that we're sharing this is not to increase the divide, but rather to understand that there is actually a component there that is happening and whether it's just human nature or biology or whatever it is, there is something happening among parents that is forming some sort of divide. And once again, ultimately, obviously, there is no need for hostility. There is no need for division. We are so close with our friends who have parents, and we obviously have so much support from parents, but it's just really interesting to me to start to think about, like, why this hostility even exists in the first place.
Well, if this podcast makes it to any parent's ears out there, I just want to say, embrace the child free. We can help you. We can like be supportive. If we like kids, some people don't like kids, that's okay. But like we like kids, like we're here to like, hey, we can hang out with the kids. And I personally like it. I mean, I always tell
I
my
mean,
friends,
you're volunteering yourself on that one.
well, because I do. I mean, I like kids. I just don't want to have them, obviously. And
Yeah,
when my friend Steve is always telling about his daughter's soccer game, I went to LA recently and I wanted to hang out. It didn't work out. Work got busy and whatnot. It was unfortunate I couldn't get to hang out with him, but I wanted to like go and like experience that. But it's nice to walk away from it too and not have to deal with the
right,
rest of the
right,
responsibilities.
right.
So, but my
So
point is, it's like I. It's interesting. There is this divide, because there's no need for it. I don't know if there's a solution, if this article talks about mitigating that issue and like how to like resolve it, but
well, I think that's what we're having these general conversations all
right,
the time, right?
sure.
Just to I think that once we have awareness that something is actually happening there, then we can just start to also on our side maybe because I see a lot of people having a lot of conflict with friends or with family members and there's a lot of anger and tension, maybe just start to think about well, there's a reason that this is happening, and that's
Yeah.
all. That's all. We can't solve it overnight, but it's just interesting to dive in and to think about why is it even happening in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, it's silly, it's because there shouldn't be the divide. I mean, it's clear that we just have made different choices, like anything in life, and but I mean, that's the culture we live in too. I get so frustrated. I mean, look at politics, look at social norms and all that kind of stuff. It's like everything is divided.
Right.
So
It's
it's like
natural that
so
this is
it's very
yet
natural.
another divisive measure for
Well,
society to, like, just pick a side. Yeah,
well, it,
absolutely.
it it also goes deeper. It's very much a tribe mentality vibe. It's like very much like I'm with my tribe. My tribe is relatable in this sense because in this case we all have kids, and other people don't have kids, have their tribe, and how they engage with each other is the issue, right? It's because I think everyone's kind of got their guards up. I mean, it sounds like in this particular case study, not all, but the parents are more guarded due to this traumatic bonding than perhaps child-free people are. Some child-free people may be more open.
Yeah, absolutely, and ultimately, hopefully, we can all just move forward and get along better and better as time goes on, and we won't get these hateful comments on a daily
Oh,
basis.
please believe the hateful comments are gonna still come. I think we just
Right,
need it's
right.
how we manage the hateful
Yeah,
comments, which is not
exactly.
letting them get to us
Right.
and, killing them with kindness perhaps. We could
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah, that is what we try to do. We do try to kill them with kindness, and we'll keep on doing that and see what happens, but
Yep, I completely agree, and, I wanna close by saying another incredibly insightful podcast. I mean, we're just bringing up
yes.
stuff that just comes up. It's just we're
Lots of
breaking.
topics to cover. We have a lot to say.
Yes,
Absolutely. So we're excited to see you next week. And there is a special day next week. I don't know if anybody remembers, but something
I
is happening
remember.
next week.
Big birthday girl.
Yes, big birthday. I'm turning 48. I'm inching my way towards 50, but so far so good. I haven't had
I
any kind of age related things going on yet.
I'm
So,
very excited for your birthday. We'll talk about it on the next podcast.
yes.
It's going to be a good time. 48 is a big deal,
Yes.
and,
We
yeah,
always have a good day on my birthday.
we always do,
Yeah.
we always do, and you're getting close. You're getting close to that big 50 mark.
Yes. I'm ready for
You
it.
you I know you are. Alright, great chat.
Yes.
Talk soon.
Bye.
Bye.